Dungeon and party or
dungeon party.
Dungeon party. Okay, that's good. There are quicksands all about you, sucking at your feet, trying to suck you down into fear and self-pity and despair. That's why you must walk so lightly. Lightly, my darling, on tiptoes and no luggage, not even a sponge bag, completely unencumbered. Aldous Huxley was like a English gentleman. Like he was just like this privileged patriarch. He was a great writer, but like because I'm so bitter and cynical, I'm just like, oh, it's easy for you to say lightly. You can walk lightly. Like the rest of us have to trudge. Like
that's so true.
Like it's easy if you're like a man of letters and you have servants. You can walk as lightly as you want.
Fucking asshole.
Yeah, I wish I had that luxury.
The Doors of Perception, and he did a lot of really great stuff.
Well, he did a book about drug abuse, right?
Oh yeah.
Or use. What was that drug called?
Soma.
Oh.
Soma, yeah.
But what were the drugs that he was doing, like, in real life?
I think he was doing speed and psychedelics.
Mescaline.
Mescaline.
And
mescaline. Allee, have you ever seen a UFO?
I don't think so. I've seen, like, an asteroid.
Oh.
What does an asteroid look like?
It, like, kind of like a shooting star. I saw one not too long ago on Cypress Ave, and I was, like, walking, and I was in a really bad place. I was, like, having a conflict with some of my friends, and I was just feeling really low, and I was, like, crying and stuff. And then I saw this asteroid, like, coming down in the sky, like, a big flash of light, and then, like, a tail behind it, and it just looked like it was moving, like, so slow. And I was like, oh my god.
It was, like, in a slow motion
Yeah, it was
shooting
like,
star.
Maybe it's, like, all over, you know?
Like, oh, you thought maybe the world...
End.
Oh, wow.
It felt kind of good.
Because, like, if it was the end, it'd be the end for all of us together.
Yeah, and then you just don't have to worry about anything.
To go and blow up the asteroid with bombs. It was really exciting. I love those kind of movies. They're like weird dreams.
You mean when people work together to overcome an obstacle that's from outside?
Yes, the common enemy.
Yeah. Do you think if when the aliens come that they will come as friends or enemies or just super neutral? Like kind of disinterested, stuck up, just very much into themselves, kind of like BPD people. Like you can't really talk to them if you don't talk nicely.
They're super analytical.
Very analytical.
I feel like
super not interested in what you have to say. They're all about their own thing. Whatever project they're working on.
Mm-hmm. So like, but like their project is like super cool, and so they're snobby, but for a reason.
Yeah, but they're courteous. They have manners. Mm-hmm. Like they're not doing anything crazy, like
But they're
obnoxious.
They're just not there.
No, they're not there for you.
They're just
doing their own thing. It's just like, did you like my set? And you're like, yeah, I loved your set. It was amazing.
So these are aliens, or are they rock stars?
I don't know.
My first, I went to see 9 Inch Nails at like a music festival in California, and I spent like all my money on it. It was called Primavera. It was awesome. I had to leave California like a day earlier than I thought because I ran out of money, but it was worth it. Another night, and then we were like sitting in the grass, and we were like, wait, we like don't have any money left. Like we should just change our flight and go back. I wrote about it a lot in those comics, but like I was going through a really hard time, and then I got super into 9 Inch Nails, and then I bought those tickets like a year in advance because I was just like, I want to see this like no matter what. And then by the time the concert came around, I was kind of out of that period of like strife, so it felt like very cathartic, like.
Because you sort of, it was a closure in a way. It's funny because I also saw 9 Inch Nails, and it was a big deal for me.
How come?
I was never a concert goer, but I saw them in London, and And it's not as cathartic as yours, though. But I wanted to see him, and my uncle hated Nine Inch Nails. He said, because he worked in a factory when he was young, and he's just like, it just sounds like moving machinery. Like, why would I want to hear that? But he.
Isn't it called industrial music?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But he bought me a ticket to go because I guess
nice.
he loved me.
Yeah. I love going to movies by myself.
Oh, me too.
I don't want anybody bothering me.
I like going to shows by myself.
To shows, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't feel like people are looking at you. Like you're at the cafeteria with a cafeteria tray. You don't know which table to put it on. Is it everybody in 4th grade is looking at you?
It does feel like that at first, kind
Who
of.
is that weirdo by themselves? They must not have any friends.
And then I'd be like, Gabrielle, can I sit next to you? You're in my 3rd period social studies class.
Ew, creep, get away. Or like in the restaurant business, would they refer to like the blender as a she's a beaut?
Right. You have to do it. They're like, you have to do it like this because pizza dough.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, imagine you are touching a woman's breast. I was like, why?
And then you close your eyes and drift away.
This is about
object
food.
relations.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that gross stuff happening. How's it going? How about in your restaurant?
The restaurant I work at is great.
Yeah.
Everyone there is a really big Mets fan, so we had a good month of rooting for the Mets, and then they just lost. They got so close.
Yeah.
They did better than we expected.
Yeah.
So
it's almost nice having a team like that where it's kind of it's like a human team. Like, yeah, we did pretty good.
they're just the guys.
It's the guys.
Oh, they're very relatable. I was thinking a lot, and I think this is on topic, during when I was watching a lot of the Mets games, how watching baseball or like sports in general feels really religious because you're just like, this thing is out of your control and like you have such strong emotions about like who you want to win and such a connection to like your team, and you just have to have like faith in them.
Interesting.
It feels like a religious experience.
It totally is, yeah. Everybody together there, and it's funny because it's almost like a religious experience where your arch rivals are also there.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, it's another religion over here. I don't know.
When I see when I watch like when they show the Dodgers fans in the stadium, I'm like, how do these people live with themselves? Like,
Wow,
they just look like evil. Like,
They're gonna go to
Suicide
hell. Well, that's interesting because it is like a form of community. Like religion is definitely like if it's anything, it's like people gathering around this thing that is sort of make believe, but it's not even about the. I mean, the thing is a structure and an organization in itself, but it's really ultimately about the people coming around and.
Totally. And then, people like Noam Chomsky would say, like, oh, you're just wasting your time mindlessly watching sports, but it's just like, or going to Catholic mass or something. But it's like, no, like, this is like a rock show, or all these are religious experiences.
So I'm kind of an atheist of sports. I'm like, I don't see what you guys see. I don't feel it.
Yeah, it's like
you guys are all crazy. You guys are all like in this mass psychosis.
Yeah.
Look, it's just a bunch of guys wearing tight white pants. But you can see their bulges. Their backs.
So hot.
What are we doing here? What are you doing? And yet they come. Come to see.
Is there anything else for you that like feels religious that isn't actually a religion?
Did you grow up religious?
Yeah, a little. Like more like not super religious, but it was definitely like a part of my life. I was raised Catholic.
Yeah, it Yeah, and it's interesting to me because I was raised like so adamantly atheist, so I can't like it sounds like it had huge psychological impact on you,
Yeah, totally.
and that is interesting to me.
It's really interesting to me that you were raised atheist. I can't imagine, like, do you feel like that had a psychological impact on you? Like,
That's a sort of it's a negation, which is hard to like. It's really hard to understand something that didn't that was not there. Like, it's not that. Like I just don't even know. I think that's why it's so interesting to me. It was just not it was a non-thing. Like the closest thing I think, and you've said before, like it's like Santa Claus. They did tell me that there was a Santa Claus. And after a while I kind of figured out there was no Santa Claus, and of course I was just like I continued to pretend there was Santa Claus because I thought I wouldn't get any gifts. Like I just pretended for the gifts. But Santa Claus also he's like he's there for the community, you know, like all the children, like he's fake, but he creates a sense of community. like the fact that we are in this like collective, the three of us are all sort of consensus reality. We're all creating this consensus reality, and that itself is a kind of religion. We're all sort of like agreeing that you're Tony and you're Allee and I'm Gabrielle, but like we're actually just like this big pile of cells like somehow interacting with each other.
Yeah.
like we're actually, I mean, we are those things, but we are those things because we've agreed on that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a kind of religion too, and it's like an organized religion. Okay, I'm totally blathering.
No, yeah, that's so true. Nothing like would exist if we didn't like agree that it did.
Yeah, it would still exist, but it would just be like, it would just be stuff.
Yeah.
Like it would just be motion and energy and movement and.
Well, you would be in Ridgewood, and I would be at Whole Foods on Bedford Street, trying to return some socks. And Gabrielle, you would be in bed here crying.
It's true.
And if
But
you
I wouldn't
didn't
be
have
in bed crying. I would just be like, my eyes would be leaking because of like some kind of vibrational energy
right,
going
it would just
through
be
me.
atoms, vibes of tears.
But wait, you're saying like, because I'm talking. Okay, so you're saying if like the three of us didn't.
Even though what we're doing is kind of insane.
It's totally
It has
insane.
nothing to do.
It's so
No
funny.
one's gonna watch this. It doesn't matter if we do this or not. And yet, it is once again like the Mets. It happens. It's there.
That
It's
makes-
there on that day.
Okay, you know what? That makes me realize how important and even essential the Mets is. Like, if there was no Mets, there'd be a huge hole inside of reality, and we would all get sucked up into
Right,
it.
like Shea
Yeah.
Stadium, everybody would be sucked into the former stadium and just come out.
No, I think we would go through like a black hole and like end up in some other time and space.
And the only people there to witness it would be the Yankees.
The world dominating Yankees.
So it's really important that you're rooting for the Mets. Like you, even though you have nothing, like you're rooting for the Mets. It's basically you praying, and all your fellow fans, you're all praying for the Mets.
Totally.
Yeah, the Mets are like the working man's baseball team. They're for the people.
So this is not only a religious thing, but it's a political thing. This is a Marxist ideal.
Yeah.
And something about it is feminist too, but I don't know why. This is a dungeon party for Halloween.
Yeah, I feel like we got some.
I love it.
Some dungeon, some people in costumes, a ghost.
We got a witch and a cat who's in chains.
Maybe we need to add some more party elements. No one has anything to drink.
Because they're having so much fun. bondagey. Just a little. Just
Okay.
It's like cute bondage.
Yeah, it's like not necessarily sexual.
Where do you think it's taking
I'm
place?
thinking
Is
maybe
it a castle?
it's like an old building.
Okay.
But it's not necessarily nice anymore. It
Okay.
used to be.
Yeah.
It's like one of the the entrance is through the basement door on the street level.
And you have to have a password.
Yeah, it's very exclusive.
Is there a gatekeeper or a butler? What do you call those people that answer the door?
Bouncer?
Bounce.
Security guy? Doorman?
Yeah, he leads you down with a candle.
And then the candle goes out. And then he gropes you.
Gabrielle. And then he sticks the candle up. Someone.
Yeah, I've prayed a few times in my life. And I think that there's something to it. But I think you're praying, like in a way, I was praying to like a part of myself. Like a smarter part of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, I mean, I'm sorry to be a killjoy, but I don't think that God exists. But I think prayer works, but it's kind of a, what do you call it, a placebo effect. I think the placebo effect really works too.
Okay, the Christians have just canceled you. Allie, your prayers to the Metropolitan All-Stars did not clinch the
No.
playoff title there, but
It doesn't always work.
it's true. Like, what if it always did work?
That would be awesome.
Nuts.
Yeah, it's really like kind of superstitious. I guess. Do you believe in? Are you superstitious?
Very much so. I can't help it.
I feel like that's really similar. Like when I was watching the Mets game, the first time I listened to it on the radio, and they won, and I was like, okay, so if I listen to it on the radio again, they're gonna win again.
Yes.
And then I was
God.
afraid to watch it on TV because I was like, if I watch it on TV, then they're gonna start losing.
Whoa, yeah, it's totally magical thinking. It's a little bit OCD.
Yeah,
Do you have that OCD at all?
I don't think so. But there are a lot of things that.
I mean, when you say that, that sounds insane, but I do that kind of stuff too.
Are you talking about turning the knobs of the oven off multiple times?
Yeah, that sort of stuff. But more is just like thinking that like listening to the radio is gonna make it different. Like that's.
It was really cute when Ashton was watching the Dodgers game here, because he's an LA fan. During the party, he was sitting there drawing, and then he had his phone on, and he was watching Dodgers versus the.
Yeah, that's pretty adorable.
I was like, you're rooting for the Mets, right? And he's like, no, I'm from LA.
How embarrassing.
Because of a mystical experience I had.
What was that?
Well, I was like meditating, and it's just like I felt this burst of energy that I had no reference for. And and then afterwards I like researched it, and there was just like no. It was like this thing that I experienced that was real, but like there's like it just didn't fit in with the world, and so. And it's hard to explain, but then like I was like, oh, if that exists, then aliens must exist, and maybe like other dimension, like there's like that one thing sort of like, oh yeah, ghosts could exist, like everything else exists, like it just opened the door for everything, you know, because. So that was me.
And before that, this is at the meditation retreat, Gabrielle, or is that
No,
later?
it was before the meditation retreat, and it but it did send me on that. I mean, it sort of was why I ended up going to meditation retreats. Like it was the catalyst.
Did you you wanted to reproduce that?
Yeah, I
feeling?
was chasing after it. Like I was just like, I want that feeling again.
Like
Yeah.
you did that comic about the guy on the street and that try to convince you to.
Well, okay, I gotta talk about that guy in the street. He came up to me. I was feeling very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And this has happened before, where like a guy on the street will come up to me and say, "Excuse me, I'm psychic and I see that you have a powerful aura." Right. And before I would just be like, bug off, like I'm not gonna talk to you. But this time I was like feeling like so lonely and empty, and it's like, okay, I'll talk to you. And right away I was like, I'm not gonna give you any money. And he's like, fine. So he wrote something down on a piece of paper, and then he crumpled it up and he put it in my hand, and he told me to hold it tight and not look at it. And then he took out another piece of paper. Tell me what your favorite flower is. And I wrote down, or I said chrysanthemum, even though I don't really like this. I was just throwing shit out there. He said, tell me your favorite number. And I just said 7, first number that came in my mind. And he said, what is your favorite color? And I said green. Although the first, I was like, actually red. Like for some reason I chose green. And then he asked me, is that the first thing that came into your head? No, anyway. And then he said, what is your mom? And then he told me to look at the paper that I had in my hand. And it said, chrysanthemum. Like it was in like broken English spelled phonetically. The number 7 and green and Margaret, like spelled phonetically.
Whoa.
And I just had this whooshing feeling, like, holy shit, there's more to reality. Like, what the hell happened? And then I was just like, I gave him money. Like, I just thought then that, like, he must know things. And he told me all this stuff about my life, and it was really, some of it was crazy, scary. And then he was like, there's a curse on you, and I can remove it for $380 or something. And I was like, holy shit, I just got scammed. and I was like, I'm not giving you that money. And but then afterwards it really messed with me, because I was like, oh great, now there's a curse on me, and like maybe I should have given him money. You know, it's like, what is $300 and some dollars? But like, it really fucked with my mind. I still don't really know what it was about. But also I was susceptible to it because of that other experience that happened to me.
Do you think he was really psychic? Or do you think like it was like a sleight of hand thing? Where he like switched the paper or something? Like
I think about it and like, the thing is if you see a magician and you see him do a magic trick and you're like, how the hell did he do that? And there's some way that he was Indian, like Hindu or something. Like he had a strong accent. Like it.
Did you give him any money?
I did, yes. I gave him money.
Okay, well that's fine. He did a show for you, so you paid him some money for it. Showtime!
Yeah. It was, but I did realize, like, he got me under his spell when he did that trick, whether it was real or not. Has something happened to you, Allee, where you just can't explain it? It's beyond the scope of explanation.
The first thing that comes to mind is last time I was at the nude beach. I was there with my partner, and there was this guy. He wasn't naked. He was wearing like swim trunks, and we just got there, and we're just walking out to the beach. And as soon as we got we started passing this guy, he was like trying to get our attention, and then he said my partner's name, and was like, and so we looked, and he was like, hey, like, you said you'd be here today, like, and they were like, I don't know you, but like, how do you know my name?
Whoa.
And it really, like, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Like, I was like, how did that happen? And then I was like, oh, I guess it's like someone else who looks like you. Like,
and has the same name. This guy said that he was doing this work to help handicapped children back in his town in India. And I don't know if that's true or not. like maybe my $60 I gave him went to go and help some children, which would be cool, but I don't know.
Where were you?
It was in Manhattan, like somewhere around Chelsea.
Did you go into Callan?
I was walking to Cannon, yes.
I just came from Callan.
Ah, for the therapy?
Yeah.
How did it go?
It was good. Cause I was having I still have a lot of sleep paralysis dreams.
Oh, right.
So it was like this, these books like helped me frame demons as like aliens or benevolent.
Do come from benevolent aliens.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fascinating. I mean, yeah, like, where is the line for a secular therapist?
Or did they say like maybe this is a good way to look at it?
Yeah, it was like maybe this is a good way to look at it,
Okay,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
And you say it did help you too.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes what helps anything is just like reframing it, or like even a distraction to, like I'm thinking about this thing in such like a straightforward way, and then if you can like stop thinking about it in that way, like, or just find something else to like think about, that's almost like as good as solving the problem.
Although sometimes some things are so traumatizing, they're just like overwhelming, and you cannot help but to.
Yeah.
And then you get like ketamine therapy or something.
Yeah. I know somebody that made a ketamine mister for their nose with some like calendula oil.
Oh. Yeah, one of my friends did that. It was awesome.
Did you do it?
I tried it. It was cool.
Wait, where are people learning to do this?
It was basically they just took like a nose spray bottle and like filled it with ketamine and water, and
Maybe
And you
this is
could
the
put,
same.
like-
I try not to indulge in conspiracy theories, but I kind of have a conspiracy theory that it is in the powers that be's interest for us all to be confused and overwhelmed and freaked out and not able to think clearly all the time.
It's in their interest that that's happening.
Yeah, and I feel like the social media is some kind of poison. Like they're just trying to
It
like
definitely is
mess
poison.
up our brains.
They want you to have it on that. They want you to be on Adderall and ADHD and
They
SSRIs
definitely
and
do.
things like that.
They're definitely pushing it. Like my therapist and my psychiatrist, like it just seems like they want me to get on the meds. And they could be right. I don't know. That psychic could have been right. I have no idea. I'm just little old me. Who knows? Should I go on meds? I don't know. I can't even see. I'm too muddled.
I think it's just like the idea that it's all a mystery. Like we can't really it's not really about getting to the answer.
We live
It's
in bunker.
inconvenient.
We live in a bunker of the mind.
People just kind of want to half believe something, like Hillary Clinton is drinking baby blood juice or something like that. But if you really believe that, you would just go to that pizzeria and like shoot people up.
But didn't somebody do that?
But only one or two or whatever.
So you're saying they're the true, like those.
Those are real believers.
I mean, if the lizard people are in control, it is possible that there's nothing we can do.
I'm just gonna continue doing comics like nothing weird is going on.
I think that's kind of a good way to approach it. Cause like, what are you gonna do?
So you're powerless.
If you had all this knowledge, if you knew that the lizard people were real, like, what are you gonna do about it?
Be an individual. That's what they don't want.
Yeah.
Be a human and not live a life of consumption.
Your
I know.
bowels are gonna start bowling.
It's so gross. It's so wretched.
It's so wretched being alive.
degrading to be alive.
But they're probably.
But if they win, it's
but
gonna
they
be a
might
utopia.
win. Yeah.
Life is gonna be heaven on earth.
You
if
have to
they
hold on to that hope that like, something good could happen.
The Mets could win.
We don't know like what the world would be like if the Mets had won. Oh, it's like a magical shaker. It's like a shake weight.
Yeah, it's a special. It's for a special beverage that nobody's drinking.
This is what belongs.
And then you
here.
put us in little boxes on the
I
on the
do.
YouTube.
It just seems like the women are just doing work that's actually kind of interesting and says something about human experience, whereas men are just like, look at this.
Just like remove all the testosterone from men.
Drain them
Yeah, just
like a vampire can.
and then I don't know if I should go down that road. Dolores Cannon and the benevolent aliens. Can we call it that?
Yeah, that's the title.
So the aliens are nice in Dolores Cannon's universe.
Yeah, they're like much smarter than us, and they want us to be able to like join their world and like come to.
So they're rooting for us.
They're rooting for us. They're like waiting for us to like get on their level, and they're trying like when they abduct people, they're like trying to make us realize like what really matters.
So they're gently, lovingly abducting people in order to wake them up.
Yeah, like wake them up, and it's like when you're reborn, you every time you're reborn, it's like reincarnation. You're trying to get closer to like figuring it out. Like what's it called? It's the same as in Buddhism, right? Like
The wheel of.
yeah,
You're trying to get out of that.
you're trying to get out of the wheel of karma.
Yeah.
And once you get out of the wheel of karma, you can like ascend and like be on the same level as the aliens. So they're trying to help people get closer to that.
They love us.
So they're like
They're
angels.
wings of desire.
Oh yeah, where they're like the angels are on the building.
The angels. They're trying to help.
They're trying to suck them off. Sorry.
Yeah, please. This is rated G
For kids.
for gross. I think that aren't angels like kind of sexual beings too, or something?
Like all the angels were, you know, they had like 10 eyes and like 4 pairs of wings, and they were like a combination of a goat and a person.
And they would say, "Be not afraid." Is that right?
Yeah.
They were frightening. Anyway, but the cherubs are not like that. You're saying?
I think the cherubs were just invented in like classical art to like endear us to angels.
The cherubim.
So they were like whitewashed.
They were like the Santa Claus.
Baby wash.
Yeah, baby wash.
Oh yeah, Cupid was originally like a Greek god.
Yeah, that's another kind of. It's amazing. Like, yeah, being wounded is also being.
Being in love is like, it can be like a psychotic episode, and it can be like a physical illness, and it changes people.
Yeah, totally.
The initial feeling is like a transition, like
What are you transitioning from? That's when you're wounded by the.
yeah, that's when the
by the
Cupid pulls back his
and then
bow.
you're bleeding out
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah, and like part of you dies, and you become another person.
You merge with the other person.
Or part of you dies and you get heartbroken, and then you still become another person. It changes you.
It does. Yeah.
I think that is true. I think it has a really like, you know, every time you fall in love with someone, you take parts of them and they become parts of you.
Yeah. Because they become so deeply interesting to you. Like they're not, like suddenly they're a real human being, whereas everybody else is boring and kind of fake. But like, you want to know about them, you want to read the books that so you absorb their personality or something.
What are you doing tomorrow morning?
Falling in love.
Viewed with like God's presence, like they have, like everything is holy. Everything you do, from eating to where you dress, the anything around you.
Is I think really smart is they unplug. They just they put down their phones on Saturday and they just
They put down their flip phones.
yeah, and then they go and they just vibe and do some earthing or whatever.
No, nothing's open. It
You
really
must
isn't.
rest.
Did you have that on Sunday, Allie? Like the day of rest and like a sort of enforced rest where you had to.
Not super strictly. I went to church on Sunday a lot. I think it's Saturday for Jewish people.
It's Saturday or Friday night. Friday sunset to Saturday sunset.
But yeah, in
And
Catholicism, Sunday you're only supposed to like go to church and do godly things.
Dolores Cannon, aliens.
Oh yeah.
I'm so interested. Like, I've never read her. That's the problem. I kind of want to argue with her, but I've never read her books or anything, so I feel like I have no right.
What are you curious about?
I'm curious about the relationship of aliens and people.
A lot of the aliens in her books are just like they don't have physical bodies. They're made of light, or they're like the physical world isn't an obstacle to them anymore, so they're kind of like angels. So I feel like they kind of look down on us as like, oh, you poor things, you're like bound to the flesh. You haven't figured out a way to like ascend from this yet.
They pity us.
Yeah, I think they feel bad for us.
But they don't get to draw like we do. I feel like they should envy us. So can you tell us Dolores Cannon's story? Oh, I mean, she did channeling, but how did that begin?
She was like a Navy wife, I think. Like her husband was in the Navy, so she was like traveling around a lot, but she was from Arkansas. And then I don't know how she started doing it, but she started getting into doing hypnosis as like therapy.
Like having herself hypnotized or hypnotizing?
Being hypnotized or hypnotizing other people. And then she realized, like, as she started doing it, that a lot of the people were going to past lives when they were being hypnotized. So, and a lot of their past lives were as aliens. So she started writing books about it, just kind of like recording like sessions, like they're like transcripts of like her hypnotizing people and talking to them.
Oh, that's just so sorry, kind of overview. And where were the aliens from?
They're from all over.
Oh, like the Pleiades or something.
Yeah, they're from like a lot of them aren't specific. And then there are a lot of different kinds. Like some people see aliens who are like long and thin, and it looks like they're wearing like long robes, but it's actually like part of their body.
Right.
And then some of them are just made of light. Some of them like they can take on human form. Some of them can like shapeshift. There's so many stories, like so many different. They can also like bend time. Like they can. There was one with like a lady driving in her car, and then she blanked out for a second, and she went and was like abducted by aliens, and then when she came back, it was like no time had passed at all. She was like a minute down the road, but it felt like hours.
I feel like this exact same story was mentioned in the book that I'm reading, which is very interesting because Luis Elizondo is like a military man, and his whole like mental structure is as a military man, which is discern potential threats, and so his whole job in the government is to figure out if these aliens are threatening or not, like if they're trying to kill us, and he sees them as doing like reconnaissance on us, and they're like coming around and spying on nuclear war, like, weapons, and and he sees them as possibly preparing for attack.
Oh, really?
But I think the government is sort of like, this system is in a place where like this is what we're looking for. Like this is how we view things. So yeah, but I feel like that exact same story of the woman black, like that, like these kind of stories are in this book too, but it's like so different. The way that they approach it is like this potential dangerous threat because they are so far ahead of us. Anyway, he does talk about the Nordics and the Greys. Does Dolores Cannon talk about that? Like there's like tall, skinny aliens, and then there's like short ones.
Yeah. And then there's like bug ones too that look like giant bugs.
Also, there's different technologies. Like there's like the flying saucer,
Right.
And then there's like these triangles, and then there's also like the tic tac. There seems like there's different kinds.
This is the army found, like the tic tac.
There's like footage of these things that like the government is just like this, and they defy all everything we know about physics. They go faster than the speed of light, or they can just like stop and take a right turn, and there'll be like no wind or like no, like, or they can go underwater and be just as fast as underwater and not even cause a splash. And
I mean, it's just another way of like, I mean, when you defy physics, you're basically getting into the realm of like magic.
Story, like there's so many stories of like near-death experiences with aliens, and they're so consistent. I believe that they're true because they happened. Like a person has to risk looking crazy to tell their story, and still they do, and it's happened so much that it seems more likely than not that it's true. I think anecdotal experience or anecdotal stories are more true than statistics.
Yeah, I think it's like we were saying before about like how can anything be real unless we choose to believe it.
Wait, elaborate, say more.
Oh, like
The consensus of belief.
Yeah. And I think some people have decided that like, yes, ghosts are real.
Yeah.
And aliens are real.
But the majority has decided that they aren't, and so we banished them.
That's not true. The majority actually believes in ghosts. They do, like 65% of the Americans believe in ghosts and angels.
Yeah.
Like most people do.
But like the official secular story of the world is that they don't. Like, it's a secular.
Right, but
most people are for abortion, but looks like we're gonna live in this country where the majority is supposed to be against abortion. Like, what is true in, like, statistically and what is true anecdotally is different. Or what's true symbolically and what's true directly is different.
Just the effect that they have on us is so intense and so powerful. Like your mother and your lover, or your best friend, or your teacher, or whoever, your grandmother, that they leave this sort of impression on us. It's almost like you go, like your pillow has your head is on it, you know? And that impression, I think, is the ghost. That thing really doesn't go away. It just stays there. It's almost the idea that somebody dies that was so real is impossible. Yeah.
Oh, when I was a kid, before I could like understand death, I would drive by, like we would drive by the cemetery, and I thought about the dead people I knew who were Jesus and my grandma and grandpa, who I never knew. So it was a very like abstract concept. It was like, these are people who have died, but like I would always like try and figure out which grave in the cemetery which Jesus is, because he was like.
That was how you thought.
What?
So in your world, in your mind,
yeah,
Jesus was right there, buried near your grandparents.
Yeah.
That's how like they talked. That's how they described it. Like your grandparents are in heaven with Jesus. They're all there together.
It's a dance floor.
Yeah.
The fantastical just kind of merges with the real. There's no difference. I think maybe ghosts are like that.
should be true and could not. Did I tell that story last time about the little girl and I told her I was staying at her house and I was like, I was talking to her on the phone, I think, after I'd seen her, and I said that we're gonna take a trip. We're gonna have a zoo come to her house in a train, and all the animals were gonna come. And
Yeah.
did I tell this one here?
Yeah,
Oh,
you did.
yeah.
Tell it again.
Yeah. So like, all the animals, because she loved animals. We're gonna like lay out the tracks and take the train to her house, and all the animals are gonna come to her house and hang out in her yard or something. And she was all excited, and then later her mom was like, she's still waiting for the animals to come. Like, she believed it. Hook, line, or sinker. Like, I just told her. I lied.
That Jesus is buried in that graveyard.
Yeah, anything seems possible because you just don't know. And then I feel like your world gets smaller because you realize what's possible and what's not.
Some artists tap into it more than others, and I look at some artists' work that they like, it feels like they're tapped into something bigger. Whereas some artists, they're very cerebral and they'll just like create a thing with their mind. But then other artists,
Like Donald Judd or something.
yeah, and then other artists are like channeling. I think it's two different. I mean, and of course there's a spectrum. Or Helma of Clint.
Yeah, but she was actually into these spiritualist circles too.
She was overlooked before she got famous, and now she's overlooked because she's too famous.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of what making art is like trying to tap into that place where when you're a kid, where like anything could be possible. I feel like that's why dreams are so inspiring.
It's so true. That's what we're trying to do. And it's hard because the powers that be are muddling us with the social media and the secular, the dissociation.
Gabrielle, you think that the social media is ruining dreams?
It's, well, not just social media, like the normative reality. Is just interrupting that dream space, and that's, I mean, it's always been like that, like the dismissive conformity.
Allee, is it sleep paralysis, or do you have this still happening?
Yeah.
And then how does that affect your dreams? What's going on there?
Well, it definitely makes them more intense because you can't tell dream from reality, like when it's happening. It kind of makes me scared to dream because I'm like, oh, what if it happens again?
So it's, yeah, a bit of a.
But I do like, I kind of like, as it keeps happening, like I get more and more comfortable with it, where I'm like, okay, this is cool. Let me analyze this.
You're getting more detached.
Yeah.
Did we tell you that what's happening now is one of your sleep paralysis moments?
Right now?
Yeah. Are you scared?
But I'm moving. I would be able to move.
Yeah, but this is
That's not
actually
your
all.
hands.
It's all in your head. You're not actually moving. You're dreaming it.
Oh no, it's about to start.
How often do you have a sleep paralysis?
Oh, pretty frequently. Like, at least once a week it happens.
Wow. Do you feel like there's something, like it's like a mystical experience, like a scary mystical experience?
I think so. It's it feels mystical. It feels like, kind of feels like someone is trying to tell me something. Like I'm trying to tell me something.
Yeah, I know that feeling, and you're like, what the hell? Just speak
clearly. Yeah, like,
just
spit it out.
Spit it out already. It's so freaking confusing.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Like, I wish it didn't happen because it's so scary, but I think it's interesting. There must be a reason. It's like, maybe I'll figure it out at some point.
Yeah, and I think there's like a division in you. Like, and it is trying to come together. You have like this divided part of yourself. And it's like, it just wants to come inside.
We were just recently talking about John Berger speaking to Susan Sontag in that when they had that like, chat about stories and how he's like, well, I think that dreams are incredibly important and meaningful, and everything you see in them is imbued with some type of meaning. And then she's like, I don't think so. Nothing in your dreams is of any import. In fact, the only thing that matters is what you say in the morning to the person. That how you interpret it right when you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing that matters. Everything that happens in a dream, like a loaf of bread, is just detritus. And
That's
it does not. So what side? Gabrielle, you said you were on the side of John Berger, that everything is that there is reason for.
I like them both.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. She sounds a little contrarian, but what do you think, Allee?
I think dreams are important. I think
they're full of meaning.
Yeah, they're full of meaning. Yeah, it might not be important in the context of the entire world, but it's important to you, and that's why you're dreaming about it. It's like you know more about yourself than you let on.
Yeah.
Like, how can I access this part of myself that I'm like hiding from myself, and why am I hiding it from myself? You know, like, why have this is something that I haven't figured out, or I can't see clearly, or hasn't like, you know, floated to the top of my mind, and it's like, am I hiding it because like something traumatic happened, or like, why am I not ready to like recognize this, or like, why isn't it something I know for sure in a concrete way?
But like something in you wants to bring it together too.
Yeah.
But then the other part of you is like, what do you just speak up, speak clearly. Like you just like there's like the left brain part of us that just tries to analyze things literally, and then the metaphorical right brain part is just like, like what are you saying? And the task seems to be like to try to bring the two. It's symbolic, like thinking in symbols, letters, numbers.
Right. And then the right brain is thinking in drawings.
Yeah, there's no words in the right. Like you can't speak. You can only like perceive in the right brain. So everything is just like shapes and feelings and sounds and energy, man. And then left brain is measuring, analytical,
right.
language. I'm super like verbal and analytical, and I'm also super right-brained and sort of zoned out. I think I have a hard time connecting the two.
How about you?
I'm not great at like math, but I am good at like you know, feelings and language.
And I was not as like Crumb always did that, but he was like a genius Renaissance artist. I was not so good. I got much better, not as good as Crumb, but I got much better. But there was like this awkward time where it's like, why is she drawing in her sketchbook when we're supposed to be socializing, and she's not even very good. Like now that I'm better at it, I feel more justified.
Wow. I don't know. I think you're just as good as Crumb or whatever, that Crumb bum guy. If Crumb is drawing, he did draw you, right, Gabrielle? At the,
yeah,
in his sketchbook there. But who would you want to draw over you?
I would enjoy it if Julie Doucet drew me. There was a guy on the subway drawing people, and I was like, oh, that's what I do. And I was standing, and I was like, draw me.
You said that to
I
them?
said that. He drew me. Oh, it was, I don't know, it was like a wonderful moment. Because I want to be on, I want to be drawn. I want to be on the other side of it because I'm always drawing people. Yeah, I wish to be in more comics too. I wish more people do. Angela puts me in her comics sometimes. She once said everybody should draw autobiographical comics. It is a kind of way of processing your lived experience.
I agree with that. I think it's good for everyone.
That's so true.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting if everybody just did that and read each other's interpretations of
That
each
was
other.
like the only way we communicated.
Like this. It would be a sort of Rashomon situation a lot. Like, wait, which one is the true one?
Yeah, me and Katie and Angela drove down together, and we stayed in the same hotel room because I waited too long and I couldn't get a hotel room, and then
I remember there was like chocolate fountain there one time.
wow, it's not often you get a chocolate fountain. I don't think I've ever seen one in real life, to be honest with you.
Sometimes they have them at weddings, or I once went to a party at Bjork's house and she had one there.
Oh my god.
Ellie, are you like an emotional person? Or
Yeah, I'm a pretty emotional person.
are you batshit crazy or just kind of like?
Oh my god, what is
I
this?
don't know how to say this stuff.
No,
I'm a man.
wait. Tony was saying, I didn't see this in your comic, but maybe it was in another comic about how you just like couldn't stop crying. Like you were just crying all the time, which I relate to.
Yeah. It feels kind of good when you can't stop crying.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's better to be able to cry all day than to like repress it.
Yeah, it does feel bad, but it also feels good or something.
Yeah, it's like a release. Like you get it out of your system in a physical way. Yeah, I wrote that comic about not being able to stop crying while I was going through a breakup. And
Breakups are the worst. Like, people have said that they can be, like, a major breakup is like worse than a death of a loved one.
Yeah.
Intense rejection of like,
Yeah.
I don't like you, and like
Right. Your very being. It's like God saying,
I made a mistake
I made a
creating you.
mistake in creating- yeah, it's the worst thing that could happen. Just complete.
yeah, I can't handle rejection like at all.
Yeah, like it really does bring up all these like the worst fears you have about yourself. You're like, I guess it's true.
Yeah.
And the person I care about most is confirming it.
Yeah, your mother is not coming home, and no, she didn't die, but she just doesn't want to see you ever again.
Yeah, she
It's
just
like,
hates you.
Wow.
But then there's also the crying of like you're just, and this might be more feminine because it's like possibly cycle related or like hormone related, where you just don't even know why you're crying. You're just like, oh shit, I can't stop crying, and I'm just crying. Like, and in a way, like anything makes you cry. Like just.
Yeah, like watching Die Hard 3 on an airplane or something like that. Usually on airplanes, you're sort of in a vulnerable position.
Yeah.
You're kind of sort of horny and depressed and tired and just weird.
Yeah.
And then you have just one companion, which is like this tiny screen that can tell you things. Like, but it's worse for us because they call us like a crybaby or whatever. A girl can just be walking around crying her ass off.
It's really rough that you don't have that freedom to not just cry but be uncertain.
Yeah, they don't like that in the men being certain.
Oh my god.
I remember when I was like a kid and I was just like walking down the street, walking home with my family, and then I started crying because of. I never cried because I couldn't get my way or something. I was just crying just the unfairness of the world. It just seemed like everything was just a little off and a little wrong, and it was a little sad.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, "What's wrong with you?
Oh,
Why are you?"
So this
Instead of like picking me up and being like, "Hey, you okay, my little boy?"
This is
like,
terrible, and it
what?
is so true because like when I was a little girl, I remember being dropped off at school and I didn't know where to go or what to do.
Yeah.
I was in like first grade, and I was so confused and lost, and I just sat down on a bench and started crying. And somebody came up to me and said, "Little girl, are you okay? Can I help you?" And somebody helped me out, and I was taught, okay, crying works. Like this is a thing that'll help me. So we were taught like that is incredibly
Take it
unfair.
easy.
Like it's so cruel.
Yeah.
And probably
Totally.
why women live longer than men.
Tell my story to everyone that she knows. She's just sitting in